These stories sound like horror movies, but every word is true. An unlikely friendship of serial killers, a daughter locked in a basement for 24 years, 3 teens chained in a house for over a decade. You've never heard true crime like this. These are the darkest human nightmares, told by the survivors and the monsters themselves. You won't believe who lived and who still walks free. Story 1, The Toolbox Killers, the real-life boogeymen of California. They called them the Toolbox Killers, not because of what they built, but because of what they destroyed. Lawrence Bittaker and Roy Norris were not just serial killers, they were predators, hunters, and their weapon of choice was anything you'd find in a hardware store. This isn't just a story of murder, this is a story of torture, of obsession, of a friendship forged in hell, and the screams they recorded on tape will haunt you long after this ends. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Meeting of Monsters. Lawrence Bittaker was born in 1940 in Pittsburgh, adopted, raised by airplane factory workers. He was smart, had a tested IQ of over 130, but showed early signs of instability. A long criminal history followed: theft, assault, weapons possession. Roy Norris was younger, born in 1948 in Colorado. His life spiraled quickly: abandonment, foster care, early signs of sexual deviance. He attempted rape at 17, escalated from there. They met in 1977, not at a bar, not online, but in prison, San Luis Obispo. They clicked instantly, bonded over misogyny, hatred, control, and when they were released months apart, they reunited, not to rebuild their lives, but to plan their legacy. A killing spree like no other. Chapter 2. The Van and the Vision Bittaker bought a silver GMC cargo van. No windows on the sides, carpeted interior. He called it Murder Mac. Their plan was meticulous. Pick girls at random, offer a ride or trick them into the van, take them to remote areas in the San Gabriel Mountains, torture them, kill them, and when possible, record everything. They practiced, drove the van around Los Angeles, picked up girls, let them go, until the night came when they wouldn't. June 24, 1979. Lucinda Schaefer, 16 years old, gone. Chapter 3. The First Kill. Lucinda was walking home from a church event. She never saw the van. Bittaker and Norris pulled alongside. She refused the ride, so they drove ahead, waited, and ambushed her. Inside the van, they gagged her with duct tape, bound her limbs. She was taken to a fire road in the mountains. What happened next is recorded only in Norris's testimony. They raped her. They forced her to pose for photos. Then Bittaker took a coat hanger, tightened it around her neck with pliers. She convulsed, cried, begged, and then silence. They threw her body off a cliff. No remorse, just relief. The fantasy had become reality. Chapter 4. The Others. In the following months, they killed at least 5 girls, ages 13 to 18. Andrea Hall, 18 July, hitchhiking. They showed a fake badge, said they were police. She was raped, photographed, strangled. Her body was never found. Jackie Gilliam and Leah Lamp, 15th and 13th of September, lured with marijuana, held for nearly 2 days in the mountains. They screamed, cried, begged. Bittaker used pliers to twist and tear their bodies. The audio was recorded on cassette tape. Police later described it as the most disturbing thing they'd ever heard. Shirley Ledford, 16th Halloween night. She accepted a ride after a party. What followed is beyond horror. She was beaten with a hammer, sodomized with a pliers handle. Her cries were recorded for 17 minutes straight. Then, silence. They dumped her body on a random lawn. This time, someone saw the van. Chapter 5, the beginning of the end. Roy Norris couldn't stop talking. He boasted about the murders to an old prison buddy, Joseph Jackson. Jackson played along, got details, went to the police. Bittaker and Norris were arrested in November 1979. Their van, full of evidence, photos, restraints, tools, and that cassette tape. The screams of Shirley Ledford were played in court. Several jurors had to leave. One vomited. Bittaker smirked through it all. Chapter 6, the trials. Norris took a plea deal. Life in prison, no parole. He testified against Bittaker in exchange for avoiding the death penalty. Bittaker was sentenced to death in 1981. His trial was one of the most gruesome in California history. He became known as the nation's most hated prisoner. But he never showed remorse, wrote letters, mocked the families, said he was just having fun. He died in 2019 of natural causes in San Quentin's death row. Chapter 7, the tape. The audio tape, the one recorded during the final murder, was never publicly released, but it still exists. In evidence vaults, law enforcement officers who heard it have never been the same. One detective said he lost sleep for weeks. Another refused to let his daughters out of his sight again. Shirley's voice, begging, sobbing, and Bittaker's voice, calm, almost gentle, as he rips her apart. It's not just evil, it's entertainment for a psychopath. Chapter 8, the aftermath. The toolbox killers became infamous, but not for their body count. Others have killed more, but few have done so with such cruelty. Lawrence Bittaker wrote fan letters in prison. Some people even considered him a misunderstood genius. He laughed at his victims, called them weak. Roy Norris died in prison in 2020. He claimed to have found religion, but no one believed him. Chapter 9, the legacy of fear. This case changed how California handled sex offenders. More stringent parole laws, more monitoring, more public outrage. But it wasn't enough. There are always more Bittakers, more Norrises, and they never wear masks. Sometimes they just offer you a ride. This was the story of the Toolbox Killers. 2 men, 1 van, and a trail of nightmares. Lock your doors, watch your step, and never, ever get in the van. Story 2, the House of Horrors. The Josef Fritzl nightmare. Some monsters wear a mask. Others wear a father's face. In the quiet Austrian town of Amstetten, nestled between rolling hills and peaceful neighbors, stood a yellow 2-story house. Below it was a secret dungeon. A man imprisoned his daughter for 24 years. He fathered 7 children with her, and the world knew nothing until a girl emerged from the shadows. This isn't a horror film. This isn't fiction. This is the story of Josef Fritzl and the family he built beneath the floorboards. Chapter 1, A Father's Face. Josef Fritzl was born in 1935 in Austria. A quiet man, disciplined, but underneath his rigid posture and calm demeanor was a growing darkness. He married young, had 7 children, but it was Elizabeth, his 4th child, who would bear the full weight of his depravity. She was only 11 years old when the abuse began. By 15, she tried to run away. Twice. Each time she was brought back. And each time his control grew stronger. In 1984, Elizabeth was 18. She had dreams, nursing school, travel, freedom. But her father had other plans. Chapter 2. The Seller Fritzl was an engineer by trade. He spent years building a hidden cellar beneath the family home. Concrete walls, steel-reinforced doors, no windows, no escape. He told his wife and neighbors it was for storage or nuclear safety. But on August 28, 1984, he lured Elizabeth into the basement, asked for her help carrying a door. When she stepped inside, he overpowered her, drugged her, locked the door, and that door wouldn't open again for 24 years. Chapter 3. The first years. Elizabeth woke up in darkness. The room was small, just 5 feet tall, 12 feet wide. A mattress, a sink, a toilet, the air stale, metallic. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Her father visited often, bringing food, books, and himself. He raped her regularly, told her the outside world had forgotten her, told his wife she'd joined a cult, even forged letters in her handwriting to prove it. The world moved on. Elizabeth did not. Chapter 4. The children. In 1988, Elizabeth gave birth, alone, to her first child, Kirsten. No doctors, no medicine, no help. More followed: Stefan, Lisa, Monica, Alexander, Michael, and Felix. 3 of the children were taken upstairs by Fritzl, left on the doorstep. He claimed Elizabeth had left them for him to raise. The other 3 remained underground, never saw sunlight, never knew the sky. One baby, Michael, died shortly after birth. Fritzl watched him struggle and did nothing, then incinerated the body in the furnace. Chapter 5. Upstairs, downstairs. While Elizabeth and her children lived in darkness. Upstairs, Joseph Fritzl hosted dinner parties, went on vacations, laughed with friends. He installed a keypad system for the cellar. Only he knew the code. His wife, Rosemarie, never questioned the noises or the gaps in time. The kids upstairs grew up thinking they were adopted. The ones below, they never heard bird song, never touched grass. Elizabeth homeschooled them, made toys from scraps, told stories of a world they may never see. Chapter 6. Cracks in the wall. In 2008, Kirsten, now 19, fell severely ill. Convulsions, fever. Elizabeth begged Fritzl to take her to a hospital. At first he refused. Then, perhaps realizing the danger of a death, he relented, dropped her at the ER with a forged note from Elizabeth. Doctors were baffled. Kirsten was malnourished, sensitive to light. She had never seen a hospital before. Police grew suspicious. Who was this girl? Where was her mother? They issued a public plea. And then the door creaked open. Chapter 7. The escape. Elizabeth convinced Fritzl to let her see Kirsten. She was escorted in secret to the hospital. But investigators had begun digging, literally and figuratively. They questioned the Fritzl family, noticed inconsistencies, and obtained a warrant. Inside the house, they found the hidden cellar, and within it, Elizabeth, Stefan, Felix, alive, barely. The children were pale, underweight, and terrified of lights and voices. Josef Fritzl was arrested the same day. He confessed to everything within hours. Chapter 8. The trial. Fritzl faced life imprisonment, charged with rape, incest, murder, enslavement, and false imprisonment. Elizabeth and the children testified from behind a screen. The courtroom wept when the tape of Kirsten crying out was played. Fritzl showed no remorse. He only said, "I was born to be a rapist." In 2009, he was sentenced to life. He now resides in a psychiatric facility in Austria, isolated, despised. Chapter 9. Recovery. Elizabeth and her children were given new identities, a secret home, a chance at healing. Psychologists warned the trauma may last generations. Kirsten slowly recovered. Stefan struggled with aggression and fear. Felix had never seen stairs before, or stars. But they were free. And Elizabeth, she found love and began to smile again. For 24 years, one man held a family captive, not in a dungeon of chains, but one of silence, fear, and manipulation. The Fritzl case is not just about horror, it's about resilience, because in the deepest dark, Elizabeth still lit candles, still taught hope, and when the door finally opened, she walked out, unbroken. Story 3, The Monster of Cleveland, Ariel Castro and the Lost Girls, 3 girls, 3 families, 1 street. Between 2002 and 2004, Amanda Berry, Gina DeJesus, and Michelle Knight vanished, days apart, blocks apart. The city mourned. Years passed. Hope faded, but inside one house, behind boarded windows and chained doors, they were still alive. This is the story of Ariel Castro, a school bus driver, and a monster hiding in plain sight. Chapter 1. The Disappearances. Amanda Berry disappeared in April 2003. One day before her 17th birthday, she left her job at Burger King and vanished. Gina DeJesus was 14, vanished in 2004 while walking home from school. Michelle Knight disappeared first, 2002, 21 years old. No one noticed. She was poor, estranged from family. Police believed they were runaways. There were no leads, no signs of abduction. The cases went cold. But behind the walls of 2207 Seymour Avenue, they were chained, starved, beaten, raped. Chapter 2. Ariel Castro. Castro was a former school bus driver, friendly, joked with neighbors, played bass in local bands. He even knew the families of his victims. But his house was a fortress. Windows boarded, basement soundproofed, rooms padlocked. He lured each girl using trust. I'll give you a ride home. Then he drugged them, bound them, and took away their names. Chapter 3. Inside the house. Each girl was kept in a separate room, chained to beds, fed once a day, beaten if they cried, raped repeatedly. Michelle Knight bore the worst of it. She became pregnant 5 times. Each time, Castro starved her, punched her, forced miscarriages. Amanda gave birth to a daughter, Jocelyn, in captivity. Michelle helped deliver the baby in a plastic kiddie pool. They were forced to celebrate holidays, smile, sing, pretend this was normal. Chapter 4. The years pass. Castro's double life continued. He played music, attended church, visited his own children. Meanwhile, the women forgot what years it was. Michelle lost her teeth. Gina's growth was stunted. Amanda raised Jocelyn in a room with no windows. And then, after 11 years, something changed. Chapter 5. The Escape. On May 6, 2013, Castro forgot to lock a door. Amanda Berry screamed through a cracked screen, "Help me! I'm Amanda Berry. I've been kidnapped for 10 years." A neighbor, Charles Ramsey, helped kick in the door. Police arrived within minutes. Inside, they found Amanda, Jocelyn, then Gina, then Michelle, all alive. Chapter 6. The Arrest and Trial. Ariel Castro was arrested that same day. In custody, he confessed to everything. The evidence? Overwhelming. He was charged with 977 counts, including rape, kidnapping, and murder for the forced miscarriages. He pled guilty, was sentenced to life plus 1,000 years. 1 month into his sentence, he hung himself in his cell. Chapter 7. Life after captivity. Michelle changed her name to Lily Rose Lee. wrote a memoir, became an advocate. Amanda reunited with her family, raised Jocelyn, became a reporter on missing persons cases. Gina launched a foundation to help others, spoke before Congress. They turned their pain into power, but the scars remain. 3 girls, stolen lives, one miracle escape. The monster of Cleveland tried to erase them, but they survived. They endured. They rose, because monsters may build walls, but hope finds crack. You're probably wondering why we tell stories like this. Why relive the horrors? Why say their names? Because evil isn't in fairy tales. It's real, and it walks beside us every day. But so does justice. So do the survivors. So do the ones who speak, even when the world wants silence.